Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. So in this video we're going to take on the Super, the Extreme Strength versus Super Physical Extreme SBR stage. So in this stage, basically as per all my previous SBR and ESBR videos, we're not going to have any summonable LRs in our team. But this stage has been greatly made easier by the fact that we can take a LR Strength Broly as a friend lead, who's obviously very good. So to cut a long story short, we have a team consisting of Omega Shenron, who is a really good card. Since he got his Extreme Awakening, he reduces enemy attack by 40%, basically acting as a Whis. Has attack and defense of 80% and buffs full power category allies by 40% as well, which is really good. Pairing up with the Broly, he can give them a buff in terms of ki and in terms of attack. Then we have the Strength Boo, who, you know, a lot of people meme and all of that and say that he's not that great, but he is attack and defense of 80%. He lowers attack and defense as well, plus he transforms when certain conditions are met. You know, the fact that he turns into Agility Piccolo is actually not too bad, because he provides a heal and a defensive buff to the rest of the rotation. And if you're high in health, he turns into Ultimate Gohan, who's quite powerful as well. Then we obviously have the Prime Battle Frieza, who's very good in first or second slot, as we all know. Followed by the Skinny Boo, who's very good against Majin Buu Saga enemies and also reduces all enemies' attack and defense by 20%. And we have the Cell, who also reduces all enemies' attack and defense by 20%. He stacks attack and defense, and he recovers 10% HP on his 11 key attack as well. So yeah, pretty good team. Pretty nice team build. The nice thing about Extreme Strength is they have a lot of these debuffing units that have minus 20%, minus 40%. They have a lot of debuffers, which means that you can float a lot of them around and just kind of help yourself out with a big reduction in damage. As we can see, Broly obviously got a fantastic attack stat off and caused a lot of mayhem. But when Omega Shenron's on rotation, we can almost pretty much guarantee that we'll survive the turn. As long as we don't have any problems. And then Frieza actually is pretty great, because Frieza will get his full will get a whole bunch of ki, because he's always fighting super class enemies, so he's going to get all that extra ki from his passive, which is obviously very good. So yeah, overall the team looks really good. He has extra ki when attacking superclass enemies, and when we put him in first slot, he also gains extra ki. So he's pretty much going to be ultra supering the whole time, which makes him great follow-up damage to the AoE of Broly, and we can use him to take out a whole bunch of enemies as well. So yeah, first stage went down pretty easily, nothing too crazy. Really quite smooth. Broly is now linked with the Strength Rose. Strength Rose is also pretty decent, also a debuffer. He gives the entire rotation Extreme Class allies 50% defense and extra ki, and then he also reduces the enemy's attack and defense by 20% as well. So he's pretty good at, like I said, we got all these debuffing units kind of floating around. And the reason we keep Skinny Boo on rotation is simply because he's fighting Majin Buu enemies, which means his full passive is triggered and he gains additional evasion and can super multiple times, which is obviously very good. But we won't take too much damage here. We got the 2 debuffs from both of them going, and we've got obviously the reduction effect of our item. So we are sitting okay in terms of damage taken. And Skinny Boo is going to go off and dish out some decent damage in terms of this SBR. I find Skinny Boo to be very good in the SBRs, just because of his passive, that debuff, plus his multiple attacks. There's Majin Buu Saga enemies in quite a few stages, so yeah, he's just a very solid unit. And then obviously we have Burly coming in with a very solid Ultra Super attack stat and then a good AoE to follow up. And then hopefully we can have the Rose do some decent damage on the backlines here. So because of the team we're running, transformation boost units are running at 100 and... what's Boo's leader skill? It's 150% across the board. But the strength units that don't meet the transformation boost requirements are only running at 90%. So that's Omega Shenron. Rose as well, I believe, is not on transformation boost, or he might be. No, he's not on transformation boosts. And then Broly also is not on transformation boost, and then Omega Shenron is also not on transformation boost. And even first form Frieza is not on transformation boost. So we're really not buffing too many units with this kind of build here. You would be way better off running probably a probably a second 120% strength lead of some kind would probably be way better. Or maybe something like a Turles, like an LR Turles if you've got them. Because LR Turles obviously does do a buff to movie bosses or Conquest of Terra. And then he also buffs extreme strength at the same time. So even though he wouldn't, Terrifying Conqueror, sorry, and he would be 10% higher on average for the rest of the party, but he also would be providing his support skill, and he would be raising attack and defense. In terms of other strength units that you could take, there's not too much. You can take Janemba, Strength Janemba. Once he gets his EZA, he'll be fantastic. He is pretty decent right now. You could definitely take Ultimate Power Cooler. You could take Strength Bojack. And yeah, barring Full Power LR Frieza and LR Turles, those are realistically the best options that you have. Majin Vegeta is very good. Android 18 are very good. The Mecha Frieza and King Cold can be viable. But maybe an Android 21 if you've got a Rainbow, but a lot of those cards are going to require a bit more dupes and a bit more work put into them. And then in terms of free-to-play units, you can maybe take the Shocking Speed Android 18 once she gets her EZA on JP, but other than that I wouldn't suggest taking any other cards. So yeah, the second fight's gone relatively smoothly. I wouldn't say it's been the greatest fight, but so far it's gone perfectly fine. And yeah, we're not going to take too much damage here. We managed to clean up the fight quite quickly. Between Frieza and Broly, we have, even with such low percentages, we just have such an intense leader skill that it's really not too much of a problem. And so we definitely more than fine with this. And then yeah, we're gonna move on to the third fight here. We'll be fighting Trunks and Vegeta. We're a bit unfortunate. Preferably we want most of the fights to be multiple enemies, as in being 5 enemies or 3 enemies or 4 enemies, because that's where Broly's AoE is really going to help clear out people quite quickly. But it's not the end of the world that doesn't happen. We're not too concerned because Broly will still do a great amount of damage with his Ultra Super attack. It's just a shame that we're not able to get that full kick-in of damage with him clearing out multiple units, and we could aim for the 12 key. That's the nice thing when you're facing multiple units. You can actually aim for the 12 key and get 2 AoEs to double up his damage and actually damage more units than you would with just the Ultra attack. But when you're fighting 2 enemies, you definitely want to just focus on getting the Ultra attack. It's definitely the doing damage to a single target is more important in a 2-man fight than it is dealing AoE, because you want to try and nuke one unit down before you nuke the other one down. So it is very important. We've got the Skinny Boo here. Skinny Boo, yeah, he does very well. He and Broly don't share any links. The only real linking partner you're going to have for Broly is that Rose. But yeah, otherwise this team's not doing too badly. Frieza, definitely, this team could use a cooler, a strength cooler, for sure, but don't have him. And yeah, I mean, we still would probably have to run. I could run my own LR Burley, but at the same time, that's just not. That goes against the rules of our little SBR challenges and guides here. So yeah, other than that, if you do have Strength Burley, please do run him. But Freeze is great. There's 18 key debuffs the enemy quite a substantial amount. And then obviously we have Omega Shenron following up, and then we should be able to clear out this Trunks with the help of the Strength Boo. He's also got a debuff, so his debuff can be quite helpful. Obviously you want to try and debuff units that are going to be around a couple turns, and then we can see where things are going to go from there. So here I decided to attack the Vegeta because I assume that the AoE attack from the Broly will remove the Trunks from the game, and then that will leave us in a solid position, because remember, Broly is automatically going to fire an AoE attack. So if we aim at Vegeta, we'll get more net damage out rather than single targeting the Trunks and getting the second follow-up AoE. And then yeah, but really not too hard a stage. Well, it's a hard stage. It's a hard stage, but it's been made a lot easier because of the Strength Broly. 100% friend leads, 55% friend leads, doesn't matter. Strength Broly is just a super duper powerful card in this stage. The way his defense works makes him really solid if there's no attacks before him. And then his damage is just nuts. It immediately makes a lot of these fights easier, because a lot of the units in Extreme Strength and in these first Extreme SBRs are glass cannons. They hit hard, but they can get hit hard. So having a card like Broly that does a tremendous amount of damage and AoE damage is very impressive and very helpful. And because we're fighting Goku family members in the final battle, obviously Broly would be effective against all types, but that's not going to help us too much with it being strength versus physical units, so we're not too worried about that. But then we want to get the Dokkan attack so that we can do some really good damage, and then we're going to dish out a great AoE attack here with Frieza, and then we will obviously follow up next turn with Broly, and we should be able to handle this quite easily. Obviously, thanks to Broly and Frieza, we managed to keep enough of a pace. I missed one, really helpful. We managed to keep enough of a pace that we got the Dokkan attack in the 4th turn. But as you all know, ideally you want to get your Dokkan attack in the 3rd or 4th turn to hopefully clear out the stage and to get yourself a free heal. Yeah. But you can see we did a tremendous amount of damage there, which was great. And then obviously we'll have Broly come in, clean up the stage with his AoE attack, and that will be another ESBR down. So if you're looking to run this team, you could definitely run it. If you have a Mega Shenron or the Cell, you can run them as leads instead of the Boo. And then solid replacements are the ones that I mentioned before. If you're looking for a super cheap option that might work out, Jace is also decent, just because he allows you to see super attacks. But I wouldn't recommend Jace as a first choice card. You got Frost, you've got Demon King Piccolo, you've got Android 21, you've got the Easy A Broly. So you do have some solid cards, but the problem is until the same name update comes out, you're not going to be able to run the Easy A Broly alongside your own LR Strength Broly. If you don't have an LR Strength Broly, you can run the Easy A Broly. He is pretty good, especially if you're running a second LR Broly. You're going to have a lot of AoE damage, which hopefully will clear out the stages really well. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll check you in the next video, and until then, stay safe. Cheers and bye.